Here's the problem that almost no one seems to talk about. The watches that everyone actually wants have become unjustifiable at the price. A Royal Oak's 25 grand, a Submariner's almost 10, and even a Speedy is almost 7 these days. These aren't watches most people can realistically save for anymore these days, they're just fantasies. If someone handed you the money for an AP Royal Oak, a Rolex Submariner, or a Cartier tank right now, are you actually spending it on the watch itself, or the name and prestige associated with it? Because personally, I'd want to get an alternative to that watch and keep the change. And that's really what this video is about. 5 of the most iconic luxury watches on the planet, and for each one, 3 alternatives that get you closer to that same look, that same feeling, sometimes even a genuinely comparable piece of engineering for half the price, a quarter of the price, a tenth of the price, so you get a great watch, but swap that prestige for a car. Now, I picked these 5 watches specifically because they are like the most well-known luxury watches. They're one of those ones where even if you're not in the watch space and you just go up to some random guy on the street and ask him to name a luxury watch, it's likely going to be one of these 5. And look, prestige does have a place. I understand the aura and the feel of a Patek or AP or FP Journe on my wrist when I wear them. But realistically speaking, you can often get a watch that's not all too far behind in terms of design, finishing, build quality and tolerances for a lot less money. I mean, 90% of the price difference you're paying between an AP or let's say a Tissot PRX is the movement in the watch, which you obviously don't even see on your wrist. Even though I love movements, I'm wearing a Nomos right now. Movements, absolutely stunning. Realistically speaking, for most people, they don't care that much as long as it's reliable, as long as it's accurate, as long as it runs. And that is what the alternatives are there for. And rather than splitting these by a flat price, say sub 500, sub 1000, that sort of thing, I've done it as a percentage of what the original costs. Half the price, a quarter, and a tenth. It means the prices scale properly to the acquisition you're looking at, whether that be a £3,000 Cartier or a £25,000 Royal Oak. And yeah, there are dozens of other watches I could have done this for: Patek's Nautilus, Panerai Luminor, Breitling's Chronomat, IWC's Portuguesa, etc, etc, but I tried to keep the most famous of them all to appeal to the most people I could. And if this video does the numbers that I am obviously going to hope it will, then maybe there'll be a part 2, 3 or 4, and I'd love to know what watches in particular you would want alternatives for in the comments below. A few more things before we continue though. First, I have handled all of these watches, yes, including the APs and such, and I genuinely back up saying that these are great alternatives. Second, we're pretty close to 25k subs, which is very exciting, and when we reach it, I'm doing a giveaway. To enter, just like, sub, and comment the hidden message, hidden just somewhere throughout the video. That's all you gotta do. And third, just enjoy the video, man. And if you do, again, a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated. These videos do take a while to produce, and it's only me doing them. But let's get started. Starting off with the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. Now, for some background, in 1972, a young designer called Gerald Genta was reportedly given less than 24 hours to sketch something completely new for Audemars Piguet ahead of that year's Basel show. And what he came back with was the first luxury sports watch ever made in stainless steel. An octagonal bezel held down by 8 hexagonal screws, a bracelet that flows directly into the case with no visible break, and a price tag that, at the time, was more expensive than a gold dress watch for a steel sports piece. People thought AP had lost their minds. Instead, it created a category that's still being copied 50 years later. Officially, the Royal Oak 41 in the basic steel variation sits at around £25,200 if you get it at retail, though that's unlikely and it's actually 40 or 50k on the grey market. That said, with all the watches, we will keep to the retail price. Starting at under 50% at around £12,300, we're looking at the Girard-Perregaux Laureato. It comes from the exact same mid-70s wave of integrated bracelet steel sports watches, so the DNA isn't a coincidence. It's a sibling design language, not a knockoff. At about 25% of the watch, at I think 8,700 or so, we have the Zenith DeFi Skyline. In-house movement, a dial texture with real depth to it, and none of the 2-year phone calls you'd ever get from AP. Under 10% at about £2,300, we have my beloved the Maurice Lacroix Icon. You get the shape and the layered cloudy Paris dial, and because it's honest about what it is rather than pretending, none of the waiting game either. It is probably the best alternative to the AP Royal Oak because it's 60% of the watch for 10% of the money. And if that watch is still a stretch, we have some budget options, which is the Christopher Ward 12, the Mine Manhattan, the Tissot PRX, and the Citizen Soyosa. Next is the Rolex Submariner, and this is the watch that basically invented the modern dive watch as a category. The Submariner launched in 1953, the same year as Blancpain's 50 Fathoms. Between the two of them, they basically wrote the rulebook that every single dive watch has copied from since. The rotating bezel, the case proportions, the way the whole thing is just built to survive actually being used underwater rather than just looking like it could. List price on the current Submariner date sits at around £9,500, but let's be real, that's if you can get it at retail. Usually it sits at more about 11 to 12 on the grey market. At around 50% of that, at £4,070, we have something you'll probably guess, the Black Bay 58, their sister brand. This one's not really an alternative so much as a family member. Tudor is Rolex's own sister company, and the vintage proportion 58 borrows more from the brand's actual dive watch history than most people realise. Under 25% at £1,950, we have, in my opinion, the best big name watch there is, at least in the Swiss market, that being the Longines Hydro Conquest, coming in at £1,950. Ceramic bezel, proper ISO dive certification, and just a really solidly built Swiss watch with some great quality behind it. At under 10%, we have the Seiko Prospex SPB 453. That rhymes. Part of Seiko's ongoing reissue of their own 1965 diver, so you're getting real dive watch pedigree rather than just a shape borrowed from somewhere else. Cheaper again, look at the Christopher Ward C60, the Mido Ocean Star, and the Squale 1521. Next, we have the Omega Speedmaster Professional, which has the best story of the five. In 1965, NASA put a shortlist of chronographs through brutal qualification testing, extreme heat, extreme cold, vacuum, shock, vibration, humidity, that would just kill most watches outright of the time, to find one timepiece reliable enough to fly on manned missions. Several serious Swiss names were in that testing pool, but Omega Speedmaster was the one that came out the other side, still running to spec. And because of that, when Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface in 1969, he'd actually left his Speedmaster behind in the lander as a backup for a failed onboard clock, which just basically means the first watch worn on the surface of the moon was technically on Buzz Aldrin's wrist, not Armstrong's. Retail on the current Hesalite Moonwatch is around £6,600. Under 50%, and you're going to see a lot of this brand because they are amazing, is the Longines Conquest chronograph, coming in at around £3,650. Proper Swiss chronograph engineering with none of the space race mythology, but just a really competent watch underneath it. At under 25%, around £1,700 or so, we have the Hamilton Jazzmaster, Performer, and the Echo Neutra 1956 chronograph. Both are manual wind, and both lean into that vintage motorsport chronograph look properly rather than half-heartedly. And under 10%, we have the Belova Lunar Pilot. This one's just not aesthetically similar, it's a direct reissue of the actual chronograph worn by Apollo 15's Dave Scott on the lunar surface, which makes it maybe the most honest alternative on this list, since it pretty much is just an affordable version of the Omega Speedmaster. It literally went to the moon as well. Next, we have the Grand Seiko Snowflake. And this is a bit of a different kind of icon. The Snowflake is the watch most people picture when you first say Grand Seiko. That textured dial is modelled directly on the snow-covered mountains around the brand Shinsu studio in Nagano, and it's easily one of the most photographed dials in modern watchmaking. By the way, I did probably butcher where that came from. Nagano, Shinshu? We're going to go with Shinsu Nagano. Anyway, moving on, inside is the spring drive movement, which took Seiko decades of development to get working. It's technically a mechanical watch wound by a mainspring, but it's regulated electronically rather than by a traditional escapement. That's why the seconds hand glides continuously instead of ticking. In fact, it is known to be the only fully smooth sweeping hand, minus maybe a couple smaller ones, and it's just a piece of engineering that hasn't been properly replicated by anyone outside of Seiko. Retail on this watch is currently sitting at around £5,800. At around 50%ish at 3,600, it is a little bit higher than 50%, but close enough for it to be included, is the Citizen. Not just a Citizen, the Citizen. This is Citizen's own flagship line, sitting above EcoDrive in their hierarchy, and it's some serious high accuracy quartz engineering hiding under a brand name most people underestimate. A good mention is the AQ4100-22A. It's the best Grand Seiko Snowflake alternative and is only 2K on the grey market, though since it's a limited edition, it is only on the grey market. At far under 25%, at around £900, is the Seiko Presage line, specifically in this scenario, the Shiro Iro. Shiro Iro is Japanese for white, describing the silk-inspired dial texture, not a person's name. It comes from the same parent company as Grand Seiko, and the family resemblance shows. And at under 10%, in my opinion, the best value dress watch in the entire market, the Seiko Sakum 150, at about £200. This one does come with a caveat though. It's a 1990s Dolce line piece with genuine Grand Seiko lineage, but of course it is discontinued. You're not walking into a shop for this one, you're hunting second-hand listings or importing from Japan, but it has an actual Grand Seiko tier dial, a 5 seconds out a year hyper-accurate 9J quartz movement, and is usually pretty easy to find in great condition and cheap as chips. And last but not least is the Cartier tank. Louis Cartier, as we all know, designed the tank in 1917, and it was styled after the aerial view of a World War I Renault tank rolling across the battlefield. Arguably, it's one of the most important watches to define what the so-called quiet luxury looks like, definitely more so than anything else on this list. It's been worn by everyone you can think of. Jackie Kennedy wore one, Princess Diana wore one, Muhammad Ali wore one. I mean, Andy Warhol wore his so consistently, he used to joke that he never bothered winding it. Retail on the current tank must quartz sits at around £3,300. It is worth flagging as well though that this is the one category on the list where the cheap end really struggles. Rectangular dress watches just don't have the same depth of options that dive watches or integrated bracelet sport watches do. So a couple of these picks lean more on shared spirit than an exact shape match, say more square than rectangular, but generally speaking, if you like a Cartier tank, you'll like these. Under 50%, again, Longines, but with the Dolce Vita, at about 1,500 quid. Same rectangular elegance, a dial style deliberately close to the tank's own Roman numeral layout, and a proper Swiss movement underneath it. Another good watch to mention here that's a little over budget and not quite like a Cartier tank is the Nomos Tetra, which comes in at around £2,000. Under 25%, we have two watches at about 800 quid each, with the Frédéric Constant Carré Small Seconds or the Hamilton Boulon, however you would pronounce that. Both keep the case slim and the dial restrained, which is the entire point of the rectangular dress watch, minus just obviously being rectangular. And under 10%, at around 320 quid, we have Second Hour with the Memoir. This is an Australian microbrand doing proper Art Deco styling, deliberately kept small and compact rather than following the modern trend of making everything bigger. Another quick watch to mention here is Area Nostalgia, which it's my friend's brand. It is Kieran from Top Tier Tickers. I'm sure you've seen him before, but it is a really nice and really interesting tank style watch. And even if all of that is a stretch, there's actually quite a lot of watches from both Casio and Seiko that make really good quartz watches in the around 50 to 100 range. Although I would specifically say, for me at least, vintage Seiko Dolce and vintage Seiko Credor, absolutely incredible rectangular watches. So that's 5 of the biggest names in the industry, 15 ways to get meaningfully closer to them for a fraction of the money, and a handful more if your budget's tighter still. None of these alternatives are trying to be the watch that they're standing in for on this list. Maurice Lacroix Icon isn't an AP, and it's not trying to be. What they are offering is the same idea, executed really well at a price that doesn't require waitlists and second mortgages. And it's worth mentioning one more thing too. While the prices I said were retail, a couple of the retail figures here are the boutique sticker price and are completely different from what people are actually paying once you factor in waitlists and the grey market. I have mentioned them as we went, because pretending Rolex and AP are as easy to buy as Cartier or an Omega would be dishonest, and dishonest isn't really the point of this channel. Also keep in mind that the alternative options can also be found on the grey market, and since they're not from as desirable brands, usually even cheaper than you would expect, so you can get some real bargains there. I mean, I've seen Maurice Lacroix Icon go for like 1200 quid brand new. And if you take away one thing from this video, let it be that luxury and value aren't actually opposites, they just get measured differently depending on which of these 15 watches you're looking at. Let me know which brands you want broken down like this below in the future. Don't forget to like and subscribe to enter the giveaway, as well as of course finding the hidden message and commenting that in the comments below. The Discord is also linked below. You can join it, you can talk with me, industry professionals, or just general enthusiasts in the watch industry. And with all of that said, never forget, time keeps ticking, so use the time you have wisely.